Allô? Sirecast. I'm so upset that I just missed you because you were in Kurdistan, right?
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. What were you doing here?
We the big thing was to do a masterclass for 40 cinematographers in 2 days. So that was very fun and very interesting for me to meet so many cinematographers from a part of the world I've never been to. So yeah, nice to give away something from what I experienced my last 35 years.
Wow. And was this your first time in Kurdistan?
It was, yes.
How was the experience?
Very nice, very
Yeah?
nice, yeah. I was invited by Halkaft Mustafa,
Of course.
and he is a famous director, and we've been planning to do things together for many years, and this was an opportunity to meet on his home ground in a way, and to talk further about other projects, and that was super nice to meet him and also to do this masterclass.
Right. Could you tell the viewers who Halkot Mustafa is?
He is both Norwegian and from Kurdistan, and he is in Norway a well-known director. He did a film called El Clásico some years ago that got an award in Norway as the kind of the best audience. It's called I think the Audience Award.
Yes.
And been winning many prizes all over the world. And he's now out with a new film that is just taken out to a big festival. The Hiding Saddam Hussein.
What we want is a sort of, not masterclass, but like to learn more about you and to learn more about the world of filmmaking from your perspective. So my first question to you is, how did it all begin? How did you start?
Yeah. I think I mean, when I was young, I was quite strongly dyslexic,
Right.
and that is more. It was never fun. But the only good thing about it is that probably that was the guide for me and pushed me into film business or film making, because to communicate with pictures, then you don't need words. So I started to draw very early, and I was quite good at drawing. And then my brother started in theater when he was, I think, 12 or something. And then he brought me on board, and suddenly I realized I could do something else. And I got some good feedback from people that could kind of appreciate something else from me than bad writing. So in my hometown, Stavanger, there was a professional theater that has I think one of the best children theaters in Europe, because it's run by the professional theater. So everything is kind of professional except that it's kids. So you really learn a lot, and you're working among professionals and with grown-up as actors that are professional actors. So that was for me amazing, and I did that for I don't know 5-6 years, and that kind of, I think, gave me energy to dare to do something else, because being dyslexic when at that time was, then you were just stupid. So that was not a fun part of being at school. So it's changed in a way, and I've always been interested in sound. So also I started working with sound, and I'm very practical, I think, because I'm building a lot, and I started, even at that time, I built 2 sound studios from ground, and to learn to build sound studios, it's quite complicated. So you really had to dig into thick books in English and to learn how to create acoustics and separate walls, and know how the wavelength works. So because of that, I started as a sound engineer, actually, because that was the easiest way to get into the business, because they needed sound people, but there was fewer it was harder to be a cinematographer. So my first year, from I was 17 years, I did sound on documentaries.
Professionally?
Yeah, on documentaries. And because what happened in Stavanger at that time, we found oil in Norway.
Yeah.
And Stavanger became the oil kind of capital of the oil in Norway. So everybody came to Stavanger to explore and to stop. That's where the helicopters went out to the North Sea. That's where they built the platforms. So they needed films about this, and they had a lot of money. So I was able to do documentaries on 35 and 60 mil, 22 years old. It was, and a lot of budget. So we did a lot of crazy things, and I learned a lot. So it was a very nice learning curve for me. And I got the opportunity to go to England to do work in studios there with, I was the youngest guy in the studio, and everybody knew much more than me, and I was a DP, so it was kind of crazy. But yeah, that was good. And then I wanted to move out from Stavanger because there was no features there. There was no kind of real activities in the field that I wanted to go into. So I had one friend that knew a first AD in assistant director in Greece, in Athens. So I went to Athens and became a camera assistant and did all the mistakes you can do as a camera assistant, I think. But I learned a lot because they had, they did commercials, feature films, and all of this that I've been dreaming about. So I had a crash course in Greece and in the Greek language. I don't remember much anymore, but that was really fun. And then I got home and I decided to not go to Stavanger, but to move to Oslo, because Oslo is the capital of Norway, and that's where the film business is running. So then I knocked on doors in Oslo with my little showreel, and a friend of a person that is now a good friend of mine, he invited me in, and I started in their company, and then it started to roll.
So it sounds slightly like you stumbled into the field, or was it more like you just said yes to every opportunity that came your way?
I've always wanted to be that's kind of crazy, because since I've been 12, I think I've been dreaming of being a cinematographer.
Okay.
So I had a Super 8 camera from early on. Me and my brother, we did, Star Wars Ice Planet. We built the whole thing with what you call this, the powder that becomes like a stone that you can create things with. Anyway.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
like it's a toy. Yeah.
But we created a landscape, and we had these small toys, and we did animation with it, like so. And I did, when I was 16, I did a lot of Eurail traveling. That was very popular at that time. So my first film is actually called Eurail, and it was with a Bolex, a 60 mil camera that you roll up. You have a 3 minutes. Yes, 3 minutes. You have a small roll of 60 mil that you kind of, and you have a spring that you have to roll it up, and then you can shoot for some seconds.
Okay. And that was your first camera?
That was my first professional camera. Yes, a Super 16 called Bolex.
Right.
With a turtle mount, you have 3 lenses, so you can kind of change lenses on the go just by clicking. And we did a film, me and a friend of mine. He lives now in Paris, and that was, I think, my first kind of step into the professional world. And then I did music videos, a lot of music videos.
Yes.
And art films, documentaries again. And I did both editing. I shot it and I directed a lot of industrials films, of promos and things that kind of, where you don't have a big budget. So, and I think also that is very important. To be a cinematographer, you had to know the skills of editing, and you had to know the skills of directing, and also my time as an actor had been very important to understand my skills as a cinematographer.
Yeah.
Because if you don't respect the people in front of you, you can make beautiful pictures, but nobody cares because they care about people.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. Because I graduated in theater and music. So basically as a performer and as a theater creator. And that was one of the things that we were sort of slightly scared of like, if we make a mistake or if we behave slightly, like how are the costume designers or potential like photographer or director of DOPs, or directors or whatever going to treat us? How are they going to treat us? How is the reputation? So there was like a slight fear actually. Well, I don't know if other actors felt it, but I was like always like tiptoeing and making sure that no one was angry with me. And then so it's really nice to hear that a professional like you actually has this mindset of making everyone feel comfortable.
Yeah, but I think it's if you don't understand that, then you can't be a cinematographer in many ways, because I think yes, you can make films where actors doesn't care. It's not that important because you have a lot of action and things. But now then, because I think the glue for every movie is actually, if you don't care for the character, you don't care for the movie. It's simple as that. So my job is very much to create that space. And some films need to be beautiful, so you have to create a double space, kind of. You have to create space for both actors and the beautiful pictures. Other films, the pictures is kind of second kind of rated because you have to be there in the moment, like a documentary. You can't ask people to enter the door for the second time because it's a documentary.
Yes.
You have to be there when they enter. And some features you also do like that. You kind of improvise and you let it happen to make it more real. Other films, you have to plan how they should enter because the light had to be perfect on their face when they get into the door.
Right.
It's all about the script and the director's vision. So that's very much to try to smell what kind of project am I going into this time.
Yeah, so this is, I have many questions set, which you have touched on some subjects that I will like go more thoroughly into. But now, I mean, just looking at the movie posters that you have in your back, you've worked on some of the biggest Norwegian movies. I've seen you have some international work as well. I mean, like just The King's Choice, The Half-Brother, The Wave. I mean, they were massive in Norway. You've also worked on one of my all-time favorite stories as a book and as a short film, At Dødat Barn. I love this so much. And it was so weird because like a couple of days before reaching out to you, I mean, you've probably noticed the speed limit here in Kurdistan is very, very different from Norway. So I was walking around and thinking about it and be like, how can we make a version that is like relatable to this? And so when I saw that you made this movie, it was like, oh my God, what is this weird moment? Maybe it was just me feeling like I was going to reach out to someone working on that movie. But
wow.
But basically you have worked on massive projects. I mean, the previous one, the one you did with Morgan Freeman, I believe, you worked on it last year. Like what I assume is that you're sort of in a position where you can pick the jobs you do, like as opposed to like someone who would, maybe you did in your early days where it was like, okay, how I want to make a living off of something I'm passionate about, but maybe I need to do jobs that I don't like. Whereas maybe now you're in a position where you can be creative, or how do you actually pick your projects?
If you ask other people, I think they will say I've always been picky in a way, because I've always been, even on commercials, and that's been hurting some people, and some people have been you know, you can lose some friends even on it, because it's for me it's always been an egoistic choice, and some of these choices have been horrible in terms of economical choices, because it's not always you pick then the best paid work, but I think I've done this for 35 years and I still think it's the most fun job I can ever think of to do in my life. So, and why? I think it is because I've been protecting the most important part of this work, is to create stories that I would like to see on cinema or on the on my laptop myself, because it's coming back. Films is not something that you just do and it's forgotten. It's there and it will be out in the world. I mean, you mentioned a film that I did, I don't know how many 100 years ago, I did that short film, and it's still out.
Yes.
So if you do something that you really don't, if you can't appreciate and say that I can live with this for the rest of my life, I think then it will come back to you, and then you will feel sad or you'll feel something. And so it's important for me to protect that part, that egoistic part. It's also a selfish kind of rule I have to choose, and it doesn't have to be, you know, high art. I mean, you mentioned the wave and those kind of things. They are pure entertainment, but I love them, and they are films that they are grounded in real people and in real kind of dilemmas, and they are kind of, and I can still watch them and I can love them.
So is it
the same?
Sorry, is it like the story? Is it the people you work with? Which one is it for you?
It's a combination. It's probably mostly the story, because that's where it starts. That's what you have to, and then of course you are saying yes to being a part of a marriage, a short-time marriage, where you're very close to some people for a long time, and if you can't bear them, if you can't enjoy them in one another way, it's very hard. And for me, I can't play poker. I mean, people watch my face and they can really understand everything I'm thinking of, so I can't hide that. So it's important that I don't lie. It had to be, in a way, a truth. So I can't pick a project just because it's well paid. Then people will understand that. So now, and even in commercials, for me, it's been important to, and even more now, I think, to be aware that we are powerful. I mean, my work it's a very powerful tool, and I have to pick project that I feel it's worth telling. And if it is an advertising for something that I really don't appreciate, I don't do it. I mean, I done stupid commercials, but I can at least, the product that they sell, it's fine for me. It's stupid. But it doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt my how I would like the world to be.
Yeah, like that word integrity within the creative arts is something that people maybe are talking about now recently, as people start to speak out about like toxic workplaces, or people analyzing previous movies and how it has actually affected societies in certain ways. When I graduated, or before graduating, the roles that they advised me for were like terrorists, forced marriage stories. And they were like, you know, sometime in the beginning you take on these roles and then after a while you build a career. And I was like, absolutely not. It's just, I've seen how it affected my upbringing, these movies, and I would never put any other minority kid into something like this at all. And everyone has their own stories. Like, obviously, like for you, I actually really love that you say it, because it's a topic that many people forget. You know, you're not obliged to take on certain jobs. It's not part of your job to do unethical things. But also, like, the creative field, historically, if you look at positive social changes, there's always been like a filmmaker, an actor, a painter, a musician in the lead, or, you know, they've done something that 100 years after their death, they've managed to keep up on it. So the influence of the arts is getting more underestimated. It's maybe a speculation. My theory is that the people who understand the power of art are slightly like reducing its value. But we see to this day that people have to flee because of the art they make. They are imprisoned because of their like what they do as a creative artist. And so the integrity within the creative field is incredibly important. So the fact that you started such a long time ago, before that was even a conversation, is fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. But I think it is also, as I said, it's also an egoistic thing. So it's not. It's also my survival in this business.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. So when do you get in? Because you've worked as a DOP, and then you worked as a cinematographer. So what is the difference between those two? Firstly.
Yeah, it's. I think we can use the words like on and off, because it's there is no rules behind those. I think that you have an operator is a different thing, and but a cinematographer is and it's director of photography, who is DOP stands for, is could be the same, and but it can differ in the different different countries.
Okay.
But in the States, and also in Norway, where I'm from, a cinematographer is responsible for the visual kind of approach to the whole project, to define together, of course, with the director, to define a language for the project.
What I want to also ask, so when a film production starts, it's not what people maybe always forget is that it doesn't start the day you start shooting. It actually starts from an idea, and it could be a script writer, or it could be a producer who finds a script writer, or it could be an actor or whatever. And then they start looking for the funding, and then maybe, they find their people with big names maybe, or they find talented people. And then like the process is very different for everyone. But what is the process like for you?
Yeah, because the script is a theory. It's written text, and a film is very practical. It's like it's a military exercise without any guns, without any danger, but it is very military in the way that it had to be precise, and it had to be a very tight schedule, and it had to be a clock that tells you what to do when, and everybody had to know that. And my role is to run a crew of 20, 50, 100 people. Yeah. And they have to know what to do. If they're waiting for a decision, then it costs the production a lot of money, and then we are going overtime. Or maybe there are no overtime. That means you are losing a scene because they're just chopping off the day and saying, okay, day is over, we can't pay for overtime, so you're losing your scene. Then you're really in deep shit. So it's very important to manage to be practical. So that's also a big part of my work that I don't think people think that much about when they think about a cinematographer. It is to take that theory and all these artistic visions that we have been playing with maybe for years. Because some project I've been involved in for years, and suddenly you're there with 100 people, and you have to make it practical, and you have to shoot, and you can't stop.
Yeah, because something you like as a storyteller or like a script writer, because everyone in a film industry is a storyteller, whether it's costume or whatever. But like for me, it's like I would write a story, and then I wrote it to a DOP once, and he was like, I showed it to a DOP once, and he was like, yeah, but what about between the scenes? What else happens? Because you also see way more than what the text says. There are extra shots that are necessary to hint, or sometimes like, hint to at the end of the movie that maybe you guys think of, which we as actors or scriptwriters don't even realize.
Yeah, and that's probably those in between lines is probably where I find the art of filmmaking. And the good films, they have that very well made, so that, I mean, in the perfect world, a film can be done without words.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Because you have the old saying, a picture tells you more than 1,000 words, and it's of course a lot of truth in that if you're good. But if you are bad, then a picture can really distort you in a wrong direction. So it's always dangerous to use pictures to tell something that can be said by text. That's the safest, just to say this is what it is about, and you put a text on your screen, and then you understand this is where we are, and everything is, it's very clear. And then you can say it with words, even that's also clear. But a picture can give you a feeling of something. But a feeling of something can also help your own imagination to make the films and the space of the movie even bigger, because you are then a storyteller by watching the movie, because you receive pictures that doesn't have to be exactly how it was sent by the director, but in context to your life, it gives meaning. And that is the power of, I think, art itself, that it doesn't tell you 100% this is what it, then you are doing a documentary or something. But a feature film, that's the power of a feature film. But it's also very difficult.
Yeah, so who is the closest person to you on a film set? Who's the closest person you work with?
The director.
It's the director. How's the collaboration usually between the DOP and the director?
I think it's very, very much from project to project, at least for me. And I had directors I've been working with since I started. I mean, one of the first short films I did with Bent Hamer. And Bent Hamer is one of the best directors in Norway, and also very famous outside of, a lot of fans in Germany and France and all over, because he had done, I mean, we have done together, I don't know how many films. And we did a film called Factotum with Matt Dillon and Marissa Tomei. It's a Bukowski story. And I've met so many people who are so big fans of Bukowski, and I love that movie. And that director, we don't talk that much. I mean, we know each other. Yeah. Because we have done this since we were kids almost together. So when we make movies, we talk about food and everything else. But in between the lines, there is a story, and we know where to go, and we know where to push each other. So we hopefully can make something more interesting than the last time, because that's also important, that you're kind of lifting yourself, pushing yourself into new areas, because the day that you think you have invented the wheel, then you're dead. So and then I have other directors I don't know that much, and I have to learn them, and I have to kind of do what you do when you start in a new company. You have to create space where you kind of can be open, where you can dare to be vulnerable, because all of this is so important. Because if the director can't be vulnerable to me, he or she will hold back, and then we will not be creative, because you have to fail, you have to do mistakes, and we have to receive it in a good way, so we don't stop each other. And that's both ways, because when that works, when the director can lift the DOP and the cinematographer, to try to use one word, when he or she can lift the cinematographer, it's like lifting an actor. Yeah. Because if you are telling the actor what to do, you have to go from there, you have to go there and lift your head like this. Yeah. I mean, then you have a machine in front of you that you do what you say, and you lose the goal that is the personal part of it. And that is the same with the cinematographer, that you have to, and with all the other people. So a good director know that, and lift people around him or her to deliver the best. Like in all other kind of creative spaces, that's the same kind of, I think, entrance or key to success is to do that. So, and it's the same for me. I have to give that same back to the director and also to the actors, that they feel safe and that they feel that together we can play. And because they are jumping from 12th floor every day, and hopefully me and the director will be there and take them when they fall before they hit the ground. So they can kind of safely kind of land and try to do it, and the next day they will climb up again and jump.
Yes. Yeah, because when you say vulnerable, it's vulnerable to give or share a creative idea and go for something, and then maybe people will not like it. It's so vulnerable to actually tell people what you want to do or what creative choice you want to make. And it's like you said earlier on, it's like a short-term marriage. You have to give your heart out to maybe someone you just met like 5 minutes ago.
That's true. And of course we can decide not to do it, but then I think the films will look like that.
Yes. So when you're on the set, are you the one who brings your equipment to, or do they purchase the equipment that you use?
Equipment for a feature film is very expensive. I mean, and it changes at all times. So no, there are specialized companies who rent out equipment.
Yes, okay.
And they are just doing that because they had to be able to make it into a business. You have to be a company that just take care of the equipment, that is always on top of the level. But my job is to define the tools, because no films are the same. So I can shoot with one camera for one film and another camera for another film, and one kind of lens or one kind of lamps. So it all changed. I have to be on top of it and to know what I need. And I have to be smart, not choosing too expensive tools where I don't need it. And I have to choose expensive tools where it really shows up on screen. So that's also my job, is to try to be smart with my tools, because they're expensive to the budget.
So what is your favorite camera to use?
I think it is a camera called Arri LF.
Okay.
And it's Arri is a company that have been there since long. One of the first cameras inventors in the world. Is a German company. And I think when they moved from film, or they haven't just moved because they're still making film cameras. People don't understand that, but a lot of films are still made on film, 100 years old technology. And it's superb, it's fantastic. But they made a choice to go digital. When they did that, they had so many people on board that respected how we work with film, and why is the film cameras so amazing? Why isn't the film negative so amazing? So when they made something digital, they tried to simulate film in a way. So their digital cameras are very much, they feels like a film camera much more than other camera producers or camera. Different cameras. So they I think that's, of course, everybody's now understanding this. So they get more and more up to date, and they get closer to each other. But I still think that Arri has a very long history in the film industry, and that's why they can bring technology, modern technology, that kind of feels home for me, that feels creative. But I'm at the same time, if I need something else, if I need a GoPro camera, if I need anything that can help to tell the story, I go for it. There is no rules. So there are no cameras that I have to use, or there is nothing I have to use. When I read the script, I try to be like, there shouldn't be anything written on my paper. It should be blank. And then I start to read the script, and then I start to note what do I need to make the story the best possible.
Do you feel like the smartphones will move into the film industry in the nearest future?
I think, like every tool that comes, can bring something into the industry that has a value. Of course, it's like artificial intelligence. I mean, it's a big monster, and it can be really horrible for the industry and for everybody, but it can also be fantastic. So it's all about how you use it. And I think the same with an iPhone. If there are places I can use it, I would use it. But the most important for me as a cinematographer is to be the person that decides the artistic choices. I don't want, because an iPhone is made for you and me that just want to shoot. So a lot of decisions is made by the computer.
Yes.
And those decisions are creative decisions for me.
Yeah.
I mean, focus and kind of lenses I've used, the depth of field, all of this, they are storytelling tools. So I need a camera that can turn off everything and be 100% manual. Even though in this digital world, I have to work with this camera as a very mechanical manual tool, because the decisions I choose inside that camera will affect my storytelling. Yeah, no, so that's the opposite of an iPhone, because there it helps you so that you don't have to think about it. You can just shoot. And it takes care of the highlights, the exposure. But for me, exposure is the part of the storytelling. Highlights is the part of the storytelling. And the focus, maybe I don't want it to be in focus. Maybe I want the background to be in focus. But your iPhone will tell you, no, there's a face. Be in focus on the face.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that.
Do you feel like the equipment determines how well you tell the story? If it's like an equipment where you do things manually, is that the main factor?
Yeah, that's the main factor, and that's the reason. And of course, if you just want to be there in a small room where you can't be with anything else than an iPhone, and it have to be sharp, and it have to be a kind of technically okay exposure, and you don't care so much about the quality of the picture, then an iPhone is fantastic.
Right. So what is the difference between the camera that you use now versus your first camera ever?
That is a strange thing, because I mean, I can show you two things.
Oh.
This is my office and my home office, and of course I have. If you know this camera, this is the still camera, and it's the first still camera that had got mentioned. It was used by press photographers, like the first kind of where you went into war zones and everything. This was a rock solid thing.
When was what year or what decade?
70s, 80s,
right.
70s. I'm not sure, maybe even before. I should know this, but it's really the first one that came with an engine that meets that you didn't have to roll for each picture. You can just and then
yeah.
but the quality of this is beyond 4K.
What?
So, and the quality of the dynamic range and colors is beyond everything you can have digitally today. Because it's all about the film negative that you put inside. And the film negative is from 2023. And it's, so you upgrade this camera by loading the film. And then you have a very modern camera. And the same thing with film cameras. They are from the 70s and 80s still. And I've used cameras on a shoot that is from the 50s.
Which movie?
One of my first movies. It's my first, actually, called Fredrikssons Fabrik. It's not a film I'm super proud of. I'm proud because it's my first movie and it was very nice people to work with, but the film itself is not a big thing. But it gave me the opportunity. But that was shot with a camera that was kind of from that time. And
you picked it?
No, it was the available camera at that time. That's what you had to do.
Yeah.
So, but the quality of the negative on that movie, I can scan that today in a digital scanner, and you can get digital files that are 4K.
Oh, of course. Okay.
So that's why we still shoot on film, because the quality of the negative is so good. It's just a very different way of working because it's very expensive and you can't
Yes. Yeah.
see it immediately, and there are certain things that you
Yeah.
can't do with film. But the quality is good. And then you have this camera. This is a still camera. It's from Panasonic. It's called Lumix, and I use this. I've been using this on my 3 last features.
Okay.
Not the whole film, but the opening shot in The Middleman, a film I did in the States with Ben Tamer. The whole opening is done with this camera. The Emigrants that I did in Sweden last year is one of the biggest films in Sweden, I think, for 15 years.
Right.
Taken place in the 1850s, and we needed a camera that can really see into very little light, like only one candlelight. And this camera can see where I can't see with my eye.
Yeah.
So then I choose this camera because it gives me possibilities that I can't do with my normal camera. So that's why I'm pick and choose cameras for the different possibilities. But my normal camera, the Arri camera I talked about, the reason that's my kind of to-go camera that I use 99% or 95% is because of the technical quality of each frame is so good, and the ergonomic of the camera makes it very easy to work with and change lenses and work. You know, it's stable. It's made for always working. They know that a film production is very expensive to stop, so the camera is really made so solid that it's very seldom that anything breaks or something happens.
I mean, you just blew my mind, actually. But my last question, I would love to sit and chat with you forever. But my last question is, here in this region, obviously they don't have access to, like go to a room and then suddenly, I'm with someone who's huge in the field, whether nationally or internationally. And there are people who are filmmakers here, but I feel like there are really good people here, but they don't feel it. What is your advice to them, to those who dream of to those who dream to be in your position or go as far as you have, but live here, for instance?
I mean, everything starts with a good story. So to get involved with directors or yourself, write a story that is powerful. A powerful story is powerful in your country, and it's powerful in Norway. That's amazing things with films. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that if you have something to say, people listen. I think it's even not easier because it's so many out there, but it's at least you have a possibility to get your films out through internet that we couldn't do when I started. We only had one TV channel in Norway, and they had the cinema, and that's it. And you had, of course, festivals, but you had to go there physically with your film, and the film was so many kilos weight, so it was a serious thing to bring your film.
Yes, yeah.
Now you can bring a little stick, and you have your whole movie.
Or send it.
Or you can send it. So that is the most, I think, the biggest value of the time we're living in, and that combined with a good story and your iPhone, because then your iPhone is amazing because you can really tell a story with an iPhone. It's just that it's what I told you, it's a different way, but the story will be there, and if you have a strong story, it will survive an iPhone, definitely.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to speak with you. And I hope you come back soon.
Me too. It was very nice speaking to you too. And every time I do this, I'm learning about myself. So that's fun.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much.